Dr. Antoni, is there any evidence to support the notion that climate change is the greatest threat to the insurance market?
No, Senator, there is not. And part of that has to do, again, with the fact that when we look at the models that are used to predict climate change, we simply don't have enough empirical data with which we can input into those models. And so as a result of that, we have to have human assumptions on what we think is going to happen based essentially on a guess. And as a result of that, these models really are not of any predictive value. And that's why these models for the last 50 years have been predicting catastrophic outcomes, none of which have come true.
Okay, and also to you, Dr. Antoni, how has the Biden administration's economic leadership failed to help our economy, and what can this committee do to get our economy back on track?
Senator, I would say the biggest failure in terms of the Biden administration on economic policy has been constantly pushing for more and more spending, which this government and the American people simply cannot afford. And as a result of that, we have today's not only inflation problem, but today's cost of living crisis as well. And the increase in insurance premiums is part of that. In terms of what this committee and the Congress more broadly can do, they need to be, in my opinion, sending the White House balanced budgets, regardless of how large of a budget the White House is asking for.
And Commissioner Mulready, you heard me say that we had 6 property and casualty companies pull out of Iowa. So from your experience, what can states do to increase market competition and best serve policyholders?
Thank you, Mr. Ranking Member. If I can, I'd like to address something before that, just quickly. This focus on the rating agencies. I would agree with that if that were sort of the be-all, end-all, but the state insurance commissioners in each 50 states is tasked with the financial solvency of the insurance companies. We do not depend on rating agencies for that. We are doing financial exams on them. We are doing financial analysis every quarter on each one of them. So I would agree if that was the sort of be-all, end-all, forgive that phrase, but it's not at all, and we don't depend very much at all on those rating agencies from our standpoint. Okay, that said, to your question, what can we do? In my comments, I mentioned I think the most important factor is having a robust, competitive free market. In the state of Oklahoma, we have over 100 companies licensed to write homeowners insurance in our state. We had one company leave. You mentioned, I think, that you had a handful. We had one who exited 9 different states because it was a very, very small piece of their business. But I think having a business-friendly environment and allowing folks to come in and offer their products and offer consumers choices is the most best thing that you can do. I think, secondly, I can't focus enough on mitigation and resilience. The state of Oklahoma just passed 2 weeks ago, the governor signed a bill that we pushed through to strengthen Oklahoma Homes Act. The governor signed that into place. It will allow us to issue grants to Oklahomans as they're replacing their roofs or they want to replace their roofs, to upgrade to more resilient shingles, fasteners, windproofing, that sort of thing. So homes in Oklahoma can withstand, up to 130-mile-an-hour winds. So there is mitigation. There are things that can be done. I think that as policymakers and as a former policymaker, the things we can do is help incentivize that. I know that the Senate has before them, I think it's Senate Bill 1953. Very easy thing. Should be a no-brainer. It's the Tax Parity Act for disaster mitigation that will just allow state-based programs like ours that other states are doing. Kentucky passed that this legislative session as well. It will address the tax issue for those folks that receive those grants.
Commissioner, this is my last question. How have you worked with both political parties to reduce costs, remove red tape, and create a stronger economic environment for Oklahomans?
Well, I blew it with a lot of that in that last answer. I would just respond with that we have worked with that piece of legislation that passed. I will tell you that the National Council of Insurance Legislators, NCOIL, if you didn't know, there's an association of state legislators who focus on insurance issues. The chairman of that Property and Casualty Committee is a Democrat from Oklahoma who has pushed through, is leading the way to make that a model act across the country. And so there's a bipartisan effort there. I'll just tell you that when I was in the House, I worked on a substantial number of issues with the Senate Minority Leader, who was a Democrat attorney from Harvard, actually. And we did a lot of good work on the insurance side of things. Insurance isn't a partisan issue. Mitigation and resilience is not a partisan issue.